clawed, the doors didn't open. They exploded. Glass rattled in its frames. The hinges groaned. 2 nurses froze mid-step. Zara didn't look up. "If you're not dying," she said, still writing, "sit down and wait like everyone else." "I am dying." Something in that voice made her pause. Not the words, the stillness behind them. She lifted her head, and the room rearranged itself. For men in dark suits, rain-soaked, unmoving, the kind of still that didn't come from calm, it came from training. From years of learning how to stand in a room like a wall. And between them, a man. He was leaning, just slightly, the way tall buildings lean before they fall, controlled, inevitable, almost elegant. His shirt was dark, darker in some places than others. Spreading, fast. Zara was already moving before she finished the thought. "Put him down." One of the suits stepped forward. Big, deliberate, used to rooms moving around him. "We need a private room," he said. "No records. No cameras." Zara didn't stop walking toward them. "You need to step back and let me see how bad it is. You don't understand what you're—" "I understand. He's bleeding on my floor." She looked the man dead in the eyes. "So either you move or I move you. And I promise, you won't enjoy the second option." The air in the room went tight. Then the injured man lifted his head. Slowly, like the motion cost him something. His eyes found her immediately. Not searching, landing. Like he already knew exactly where she was. Dark eyes. Calculating. Sharp in a way that didn't belong to someone losing blood. Not afraid. Not even close to it. "No records," he said quietly. Just 2 words. But the entire room shifted around them. Zara walked straight up to him. Close enough to see the way his breathing moved. Controlled, measured, strained at the edges. A man fighting his own body and winning. "For now. You've got maybe 12 minutes before you pass out," she said. "After that, your rules stop mattering." One of the suits reached for her arm. She didn't flinch. Didn't even look at him. "Touch me," she said flatly, "and I walk out that door. Then he dies. And it'll be the last mistake you ever make in my hospital." Nobody moved. The injured man studied her for a long moment. Like he was solving something. Like she was a lock and he was deciding whether picking her was worth the effort. Then, slowly, something shifted in his expression. "Let her work," he said. The tension didn't break. It bent. "Sit him down," Zara said. "Now." His men hesitated. He didn't. He lowered himself into the nearest chair, controlled, precise, and the only sign of pain was the single sharp breath that escaped before he swallowed it whole. Zara was already pulling on gloves. "What happened?" Silence. She pressed 2 fingers carefully against his side. His hand shot out. Fast, iron grip fast, and caught her wrist. Too fast for someone bleeding out. Too strong. Their eyes met at close range. "Careful," he said softly. Not threatening. Just informing. Zara looked at his hand on her wrist. Then back at his face. "Or what?" she said. Something moved behind his eyes. Not anger. Interest. He let go. Zara peeled back his shirt. The wound was deep. Wrong angle. Not a bullet, a blade, and someone who knew how to use one. She kept her face neutral. But something cold moved through her chest. "You should be unconscious," she said. "I don't have that luxury. You don't have time either." She turned sharply. "Gauze. Tray. Now." No one moved. She looked up from the wound. Unimpressed. The way only someone who had already been through worse could look. "Unless one of you went to medical school in the last 30 seconds, move." They moved. She worked fast. Efficient. No wasted motion, no hesitation. The whole time she felt his gaze. Not wandering. Not distracted. Fully, deliberately fixed on her. Like she was something he was memorizing. It should have been unsettling. It wasn't. And that bothered her more than she'd admit. "You're losing too much blood," she said. "I need to get fluids in you." "No hospital records," he repeated. Zara exhaled slowly through her nose. Then, without a word, she rolled up her sleeve. The room went still in a different way. Ink curved along the inside of her forearm. Dark lines. Precise. A broken compass, the needle split down the middle, pointing in two directions at once. Clean. Deliberate. Impossible to mistake if you knew what it meant. The man's breath hitched. Actually hitched. For the first time since he'd walked in, his control cracked. Just at the edges. Just for a second. Where did you get that? His voice had dropped. Quieter now. A different kind of dangerous. Does it matter? His hand moved slower this time. Not grabbing. Hovering near her arm like he wasn't sure he was allowed to touch it. You shouldn't have that, he said. And you shouldn't be bleeding out in my emergency department. She pulled her sleeve back down. But here we both are. A long silence. Then, proceed. His men stepped back. Just like that. Stay still, she said. I am. More than that. She pressed harder against the wound. His jaw tightened barely, but he didn't move. Didn't make a sound. The kind of discipline that didn't come from toughness. Came from survival. You're lucky, she said after a moment. I don't believe in luck. Then start. She tied off the temporary dressing. That missed anything vital by less than an inch. His eyes moved to her face. And yet I still found my way here. Zara didn't answer that. Didn't want to think about what it meant. You're not asking questions, he said. Should I be? Yes. I don't care, she replied simply. That made him pause. Like she'd said something in a language he didn't speak. Everyone cares, he said. Not tonight. He watched her work in silence for a moment. Then, what's your name? Zara. Zara. He said it like he was placing it somewhere. Filing it. You speak like someone who isn't afraid of consequences. I'm tired, she said. It's a different thing. Something almost like a smile touched the corner of his mouth. Then it was gone. Do it, he said. One of his men stepped forward immediately. Sir, we don't know who she... I said do it. Zara didn't wait for permission. She was already moving. She got him to a private room. He sat on the edge of the bed the moment they set him down, gripping the railing, pulling himself upright. Zara turned from the supply cart. Lie down. I don't like being vulnerable. I don't care what you like. She crossed the room in 4 steps. You're bleeding internally. You don't get preferences right now. One of his men shifted forward. Watch your tone with... Or what? She didn't even turn around. Are you going to scare me? You already tried. Silence. The man on the bed leaned back. Not because he wanted to, because she told him to. She noticed that, and filed it away. She worked quickly, checking the wound, pressing, assessing. Her hands moved without hesitation, and she didn't realize until she looked up that he'd been watching them the entire time. Most people tense when the needle comes out, she said. I'm not most people. No, she said. You're definitely not. The needle went in. His jaw tightened. That was it. The only reaction she got. No sound. No flinch. Nothing. Just that jaw. That control. That discipline carved by years of staying alive in places that should have killed him. You can breathe, she said quietly. I am. Not enough. A pause. Then, softer than anything he'd said before. Why are you helping me? Zara didn't look up. It's my job. That's not the reason. She pressed harder. He exhaled sharply. That's the reason you're getting, she said. He was quiet for a moment. Then, you've seen things. Everyone has. Not like you. She finally looked at him. Really looked at him. And found something in his expression she didn't expect. Recognition. Not of her face. Of something deeper. Something underneath the surface. Like he could see exactly what she'd buried. Don't start analyzing me, she said flatly. You're the one on the table. You're deflecting. And you're bleeding. Still deflecting. Zara almost smiled in spite of herself. You talk a lot for someone losing blood. And you talk too much for someone who claims not to care. That landed differently than she expected. She covered it quickly, but not quickly enough. She could tell by the way his eyes sharpened. I care about my patients not dying, she said. Full stop. Liar. Her hands stilled for half a second. Just half. Then kept moving. You don't know me. I don't need to, he said quietly. I recognize restraint when I see it. I recognize someone who learned to make themselves small. Zara's voice dropped. Drop it. No. She looked up sharply. Their eyes locked. And it wasn't tension this time, not exactly. It was something else. Something with gravity. Something pulling in a direction she didn't want to name. You don't get to ask me things, she said. I do if my life is in your hands. Then maybe don't push the person keeping you alive. A pause. Fair, he said. That surprised her more than anything else he'd done. Good, she said. Then be still. She began stitching. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It had weight. It had texture. It was the kind of silence that happened when two people knew too much about each other too soon and neither one knew what to do with it. You're steady, he said after a while. I have to be. No. He watched her hands. You choose to be. There's a difference. She didn't answer. Because he wasn't wrong. You said you don't believe in luck, she said instead. I don't. What do you believe in? Control. She huffed softly. That explains everything. And you? He asked. Zara tied off another stitch. Didn't look up. I believe in surviving, she said. His gaze sharpened. She felt it even without looking. Not living. They're not the same thing. No, he said quietly. They're not. A deeper silence. You learned that the hard way, he said. Zara's hands paused. Just for a second. Everyone does, she replied. Not like you. She looked up. You really don't know when to stop, do you? No. Figures. She stepped back when the last stitch was done. Stripped off the gloves. Let herself breathe for a second with her back to him. You're not afraid of me, he said. I don't have time to be. That's not the same as not being afraid. It is tonight. She turned. Their eyes met. And this time it stayed. Longer than it should have. Longer than either of them broke away from. You're dangerous, he said quietly. Zara let out a short laugh. You came in here with 4 armed men and I'm the dangerous one? Yes. The laugh stopped. Why? Because you don't react the way you should. How should I react? With fear. She tilted her head. Maybe I've seen worse. Something shifted in his expression. Not shock. Not skepticism. Belief. I know you have, he said. That was different. That landed differently than a challenge. It landed like understanding. Zara turned away first. Don't move too much, she said. You'll tear the stitches. I'll manage. You're not as good at listening as you think. I listen when it matters. She shook her head slowly. You're exhausting. And you're still here. She paused at the door. Just for a second. Don't read into it, she said. I already have. She glanced back. Their eyes met across the room. Him on the bed, pale from blood loss, still somehow managing to fill the entire space like gravity bent around him. You're wrong, she said. I rarely am. She walked out. And the whole time down the hallway she could feel it, that thing she couldn't name. That shift. Something had changed. And she already knew she wasn't going to be able to undo it. He didn't sleep. She knew before she even opened the door. Stop pretending, she said, stepping inside. He was at the window, still, watching the parking lot like it owed him something. I wasn't, he said. You haven't moved in 30 minutes. I was thinking. Zara set the tray down. You came back, he said, without turning around. I said I would. That doesn't mean you had to. She glanced at him. You say a lot of things like they're statements when they're actually questions. That got him. He turned slowly. Do I? You said, you came back like you were surprised. But you were watching the door, weren't you? A beat. Then, yes. So you expected me. I hoped, he said. Different thing. Zara stared at him. Because that was the most human thing he'd said since he walked through her doors bleeding out. Sit, she said, pointed to the bed. He didn't move. She sighed. You're doing it again. What? Trying to control the room. I am controlling the room. No. She stepped closer. You're trying to control me, and I need you to understand very clearly that those are two very different things. His eyes held hers. Something sharp passed between them, not hostility. Recognition. You don't like that, he said. No. Why? Because I've been controlled before. The words came out before she could stop them. Too fast. Too honest. She watched his expression shift. Not softer, but sharper. More focused. The way a man becomes when something suddenly matters. By who? He said. Doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? Because I don't like unknown variables. Zara let out a quiet laugh. There it is. Right back to control. It's how I survive. And how many people does that cost you? Silence. That one landed. She watched his jaw tighten. Watched something move behind his eyes that he didn't let reach his face. More than I count, he said finally. And you're okay with that? No. Quiet. Flat. No hesitation. She hadn't expected that either. But I accept it, he added. That's not the same thing. It's the only thing that works. Zara studied him. That's a very lonely way to live. It's an effective one. For you, she said. Not for anyone around you. The silence that followed was different, heavier. Like something had been said that couldn't be unsaid. And both of them knew it. You speak like you've been on the other side of men like me, he said. Zara didn't deny it. What if I have? She said. And yet you're not afraid. I told you. I've seen worse. He studied her. Longer this time. Something moving behind his eyes, calculating, yes, but something else too. Something quieter. Show me, he said. Zara frowned. What? The truth. His voice dropped slightly. Not the version you give everyone else. No. Why not? Because you haven't earned it. Something crossed his face. Something rare, she suspected. Respect. Fair, he said. Again. Fair. Like he was actually listening. You're not what I thought you'd be, she said, almost to herself. Neither are you. She crossed her arms. What did you think I'd be? He looked at her for a moment. Temporary, he said. The word hit like a door closing. Wow, she said dryly. That's deeply flattering. It wasn't meant to be. What was it meant to be? Honest. She stared at him, then shook her head and turned toward the supply tray. Your dressing needs to be changed. Does it? Yes. Or you needed an excuse to come back. She froze for half a second, so small she almost covered it. Almost. Lie down, she said. Adrian. She blinked. He was watching her. Something in his expression she couldn't read. That's my name, he said. In case you were wondering. I wasn't. You were. She met his eyes. Lie down, Adrian. He did. She moved closer, carefully peeling back the bandage. The wound was already knitting at the edges. Faster than she'd expected. You're healing quicker than you should be, she said. I don't plan on staying long. I figured. She worked in silence for a moment. Then, come with me. Her hands stopped. She looked up slowly. He was watching the ceiling. Excuse me? She said. When I leave. Still not looking at her. Come with me. You're serious. I don't say things I don't mean. Zara stared at him, looking for the angle, for the manipulation, for the chess move underneath the words. She didn't find one. You don't know me, she said. I know enough. You know I don't follow orders. That's why. That's your reason? Yes. She shook her head. That's insane. Most things worth doing are. No, listen to me. Her voice sharpened. That's your life. Your world. Whatever you're involved in. And I can guess I'm not naive. It's not something I want any part of. A pause. Then, quieter. You already are. The words dropped into the room like a stone into still water. Zara's chest tightened. That's not fair, she said. No, he agreed. It isn't. She looked away. Because he was right. Because she knew it the moment she saw the tattoo on her own arm reflected in his eyes. That flash of recognition, the way he knew exactly what it meant. You don't see a broken compass and not know the people who wear it. I built something here, she said. Something real. Something mine. You built something safe, he said. Not unkindly. That's different. Not to me. Yes, it is. He finally looked at her. You know the difference between safe and yours. You've always known. She clenched her jaw. You don't get to decide what's mine. No, he said quietly. But I can see what you're not saying. The anger that moved through her was clean and sharp. And underneath it, something worse. Recognition. I don't want that life back, she said. I'm not offering you that life back. Then what are you offering? He held her gaze. Something different, he said. Something that actually fits. Zara stared at him for a long moment, then looked away, tied off the last of the dressing. You didn't hesitate tonight, he said. It's my job. You challenged men who could have killed you. It's still my job. You revealed a mark that ties you to a world you clearly ran from. A pause. That's not your job. Her jaw tightened. You ran toward danger, he continued. Not because you had to. Because something in you doesn't know how not to. The silence that followed was the loudest thing in the room. Maybe, she said finally, very quietly. I don't know how to have a quiet life. He looked at her. Maybe, he said just as quietly. I don't know how to let you walk away from this one. That changed the air. The whole composition of it. Zara stepped back. Just slightly. Creating space between them that felt necessary and useless in equal measure. You don't get to say things like that, she said. Why not? Because you don't mean them. I do. You met me 3 hours ago. And you're the only person in this building I trust. She stared at him. You don't trust your own men? I trust them to follow orders, he said. I trust you not to. That's rarer than you know. Zara exhaled. Long, slow. That's a terrible reason to trust someone. It's the only reason that's ever mattered. She turned away, began organizing the supply tray, something to do with her hands. I should go, she said. You won't. Don't. Don't what? Don't do that thing where you say what I'm going to do before I do it. Then prove me wrong. She didn't move. Stay, he said. One word. No performance. No angle. Just stay. Zara stood at the supply tray with her back to him and felt it. That thing she'd been feeling since the moment he walked in. That pull. That terrible, inconvenient, specific pull. She didn't turn around. But she didn't leave either. The power cut hit without warning. 1 second, light, sound, the low hum of the hospital at night. The next, darkness. Then the backup generators kicked in. Flickering. Unstable. The kind of light that makes shadows feel like decisions. Zara was already at the door. Stay where you are, she said sharply. I wasn't planning to move, Adrian replied. His voice was completely calm. That somehow made it worse. She pulled the door open an inch. The hallway. 2 men she didn't recognize. Moving wrong. Not searching, not panicked, not lost. Hunting. Eyes low, sweeping corners, hands too close to their sides. Her stomach dropped. She stepped back. Pulled the door shut. Quiet. Adrian was already watching her when she turned. How many? He said. 2. Maybe more. He was on his feet before she finished the sentence. Sit down, she started. They're here for me. And if you collapse before they reach you, that saves them the trouble. She grabbed his arm. You have 12 stitches and you're still running on whatever insane discipline keeps you vertical. Sit. He looked at her. She looked back. He sat. Lock the door, he said. It won't hold. It doesn't need to hold. It needs to delay. Zara slid the bolt, then turned back to him, and felt the situation land fully for the first time. This was real. This was actually happening. This is what you meant, she said. When you said I was already in this. Yes. And you still asked me to come with you. I told you there would be risk. There's a difference between risk and armed men in my hospital, Adrian. Yes, he said. There is. I'm sorry. That stopped her cold. She hadn't expected that either. A sound from the hallway. A door slamming, then footsteps. getting louder. What's the plan? She asked. You stay behind me. She stared at him. That's the plan. That's the full plan. Yes. You have 12 stitches. I'm aware. That doesn't worry you? Worry doesn't help. Zara turned, scanning the room. Small. One window, ground floor, but barred. Supply cabinet. Metal tray on the counter. She grabbed the tray. Adrian looked at it. Then at her. You're going to fight them with a serving tray. I'm going to not stand here and die, she said. There's a difference. A pause. Good, he said. Something about the way he said it. Not condescending, not impressed, just real. Settled something in her chest. The door handle turned. Both of them went still. Slow rotation. Then crash. The door burst inward. Two men. Fast, professional, no hesitation. Adrian moved first. Despite the stitches. Despite everything. He stepped into the first attacker, not away, never away, and caught the arm mid-swing. A sharp, brutal rotation. The crack was loud in the small room. The man dropped. The second one came for Zara. She didn't think. She swung. The tray connected with the side of his head. A dull, resonant impact she felt all the way up her arms. He staggered. She stepped back. Adrian finished it. Clean. Precise. Silence crashed back into the room like a wave. Zara stood there, chest heaving. The tray hanging loose in her grip. Her hands were shaking. She hadn't noticed until now. Adrian turned to her immediately. You okay? Yes, she said. Then, my hands are shaking. That's normal. It doesn't feel normal. It never does. He stepped closer. You didn't hesitate. I almost did. Half a second, he said. That's not hesitation. That's assessment. She let out a breath. Something between a laugh and a sigh. You really live like this, she said. Yes. Every day. Yes. She looked at him, really looked at him. At the blood seeping back through his shirt where the stitches were straining. At the absolute steadiness in his eyes. And you still want me in it, she said. Especially after this. Why especially? Because you didn't run, he said. And you could have. Zara held his gaze. So could you, she said quietly. Something shifted in his expression. Small, guarded. Real. A sound echoed from the stairwell. More footsteps. More of them. Adrian's expression hardened back into focus. We need to move. Where? Down. That's the worst direction. It's the only unexpected one. Adrian, trust me. She stared at him. At the blood on his shirt. At the calm in his eyes. At the impossible, infuriating certainty of him. I don't know if I trust you, she said honestly. I know, he said. Trust this moment instead. She exhaled. Lead, she said. And he did. They moved fast. The stairwell was dim and loud with their footsteps. At the bottom, a long corridor. Supply closets. Emergency exit at the far end. Red light glowing above it like an answer. Zara moved toward it. Adrian caught her arm. Not yet. That's the exit. That's also where they'll be waiting. She turned. So we just stand here? We stop running, he said. Running is predictable. Panic is predictable. We hold. Holding is also predictable. It's called cornered. Only if they find us. Footsteps on the stairs. Descending. Zara's pulse hit a different frequency. Louder. Too loud. They're already here, she said. Adrian stepped in front of her. That same instinct, automatic, unhesitating, like it wasn't something he decided. Stay behind me, he said. You keep saying that. You keep not listening. I'm listening right now. He glanced at her. Something in his face. The closest thing to softness she'd seen from him. Look at me, he said. She did. Breathe. I am breathing. Slowly. She forced it, one breath, then another. Felt her pulse drop slightly. Enough. You trust me? He asked. A pause. Longer than before. Ask me again in an hour, she said. That surprised him. She could tell because the corner of his mouth moved, just barely. Fair, he said. Then he turned to face the corridor. 3 men came around the corner. What happened next was fast and brutal and nothing like anything Zara had ever seen outside the aftermath. The cuts, the damage, the body she'd patched up in her emergency department and never asked how it happened. Adrian moved like the injury didn't exist. Like pain was a negotiation he'd already won. She moved too. The tray again. The same brutal practicality. You use what you have. The 3rd man caught her wrist, hard, wrenching, and the tray spun away. She gasped. Adrian turned. One motion. A blade she hadn't seen until it was already over. The grip released. Silence. Zara stood there, her wrist throbbing, her lungs burning, her mind doing the thing it did in trauma situations. Cataloging everything at once. Injuries. Exits. What came next? Adrian was already looking at her. That was close, she said. Yes. Don't say you had it handled. I was going to say I'm sorry. She blinked. I should have ended it faster, he said. You got hurt because of me. I'm not hurt. She flexed her wrist. I'm fine. Zara. I said I'm fine. She met his eyes. Are you fine? Because those stitches. I'll manage. That's not the same. It never is, he said quietly. They looked at each other. Down in the basement of a hospital that still had armed men somewhere in its walls. Standing in a silence that felt bigger than the moment inside it. This doesn't stop, she said. Does it? No. She nodded. Slowly. Like the answer wasn't a surprise. Tell me something true, she said. Which truth? Any of them. He looked at her for a long moment. I haven't wanted to protect someone in a very long time, he said. And I don't entirely know what to do with it. Zara held his gaze. That's honest, she said. Yes. I don't know what to do with it either. I know. Footsteps again, distant, but moving. Adrian reached for her hand. Not grabbing. Not controlling. Just reaching. And holding. Walk with me, he said. Not come with me. Not follow me. Walk with me. Zara looked at his hand around hers. At the broken compass on her arm. At the exit sign glowing red at the end of the corridor. Then she laced her fingers through his. Okay, she said, and they walked toward the exit together. The rain hit them the second the door opened. Cold and immediate and somehow clarifying, like the world outside had different rules. Cleaner ones. They crossed the lot fast. A black SUV idling at the edge of the shadows. Engine running. Driver alert. Headlights off. Adrian pulled the door open and guided her inside without a word. Go, he said. The car moved. Zara sat back. Let the adrenaline start its slow recession. Felt the shaking in her hands return. Properly this time. The kind that comes after. The body finally allowed to feel what it couldn't during. She looked at her hands. Then out the window. Then at him. You should tell me everything, she said. I will. Starting now. He exhaled once. The breath of someone stepping off a ledge. My name is Adrian Voss, he said. That's the name I use. There's another one people use for me, but you don't need to know it yet. Yet, she noted. My network operates across 3 continents, he continued. Finance, intelligence, enforcement. You mean crime, among other things. That's not a denial. No, he said. It isn't. And the people in that hospital? A rival organization. They've been watching for an opportunity. A pause. I gave them one. I shouldn't have. Zara studied his profile. You don't say that like it's easy. It isn't. But you accept it. I have to. Does that ever stop hurting? He turned to look at her. And didn't answer. Which was an answer in itself. The car slowed. Gates opened ahead of them. A compound, large and isolated, swallowed by trees. Security she could feel without seeing it. Your people? She said. Yes. Do they know about me? They'll learn. Should I be worried about that? He considered her. Probably. And yet you brought me here anyway. Yes. Why? Adrian was quiet for a moment. Because the alternative, he said, was leaving you behind. And I found I couldn't. Zara looked at him for a long time. at the blood on his shirt, at the steadiness in his eyes, at the truth on his face that she was pretty sure he didn't show many people. "I left that world," she said finally. "My world, the one I came from. I know. I thought I was done with all of it. I know that too. And now here I am." "Here you are," he agreed. The car stopped. Neither of them moved. "You can still leave," he said. "You've said that before. I mean it more now." "Why?" "Because now you know what it actually means." He looked at her fully. "Before it was an idea. Now it's real." Zara thought about the hospital, about the men in the hallway, about the tray in her hands and the weight of a choice made in half a second, about the tattoo on her arm that she'd thought she'd left behind, about the way he'd reached for her hand. Not grabbed, reached. "I'm going to need to know everything," she said. "All of it. No versions. No management." "Yes. And I'm not going to stop pushing back when I think you're wrong. I'd expect nothing less. And I make my own choices. Always." "Always," he agreed. She nodded once, then opened the door, stepped out into the rain, turned to look at him. "Then stop standing there," she said, "and show me what I just walked into." Adrian stepped out of the car, and for the first time since the doors of her emergency department flew open and shook the glass in its frames, he smiled. Small, real, dangerous in the best possible way. "This way," he said, and she followed. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. That was the part she hadn't planned for. If you made it this far, you already know the story is different. Hit like if you felt it. Drop part 2 in the comments if you want to know what happens next. Subscribe, because what's coming for Zara and Adrian is only just